Hey guys, now we're going to start into the next set of videos, which is about dividing integers. And to be honest, if you've watched multiplying and you've kind of got the multiplication part down, dividing's kind of the same thing. It doesn't really add a lot more. I'm going to show you a way you can think about this, a visual way. So example one. Let's say we had -8 and we wanted to divide it by 2. Now, if you really want to think visually about this, some of us are real visual learners. It helps to see it first. Here's the visual way to kind of see this. Here's a picture to represent this. We have -8, and we want to divide it into 2. So, -8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. Divide it into 2 groups. 1, 2. -8 divided by 2 broken into 2 groups is 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives. The answer is -4. There's a nice visual to kind of show like, hey, here's your 4 negatives right there. When I split it into my 2 groups, I have 4 negatives in both groups evenly. They match up. Now the visual is great, but to be truthful, like you're not going to want to have to draw a picture very often for these division problems. So it's nice to be able to go to those rules and kind of memorize them. And the cool thing is, I'm going to put a little thought bubble over here, is the dividing rules are the exact same as multiplying. So if you've watched the multiplication videos, you already know in our class, we refer to the multiplying as our match.com rules, which is kind of just a joke, but at the same time, it really helps us remember. The match.com rule says if they are matching, that's a good thing. So if I am dividing 2 positive numbers, that's awesome. That's a match. Or if I am dividing 2 negative numbers, that's also great. Those would both be positive answers. But if the signs do not match up, like in our example here, -8 divided by 2, these do not match. One of them's a negative number, one of them's a positive number. That's bad. That's negative. So we got to look at the signs of the numbers and decide, is it a match or is it not? And then we just do our regular division. So let's try another problem. Example 2. Okay, so for the next example, we're going to do -16 divided by -4. And I don't mind writing the question like I am right now, using this division symbol. But the truth is when you get up to high school algebra, we don't really use that division symbol anymore. It pretty much goes away, except for on our calculator as a button. Most of the time when we talk about division, we actually think of it as a fraction. -16 over -4. Fractions technically mean to divide. So I'm going to be writing problems probably more likely like this. -16 over -4. And what I know is that either way I'm going to get the same answer. 16 divided by 4 is 4, because 4 times 4 makes 16. But I'll put the 4 here. I also noticed that the signs are a negative and a negative, and that's a match, which is good. So the answer is a +4. Circle +4. Matching is good. So let's do an example 3 way down here at the bottom. Okay, so let's say we had -80 divided by 10. Again, I'm probably not going to write problems with the division sign very often, so let's change that and let's write it with a fraction. -80 over 10. Well, 8 times 10 is 80, so I know the answer is 8, because I know I'm dividing 10 into it 8 times. I also know that they're not a match. This number's negative, 10 is positive. Those do not match up. That's bad. That's a negative answer. -8. I've got my answer. So with all of these questions, just like multiplying, really just work on doing the regular division and then going to our match.com rule. Divide first, then match. I'm going to have you try a few now before we end this video. And I'd like you to try 3 questions. I'm going to give you an ABC. Because the more you practice, just the easier some of this stuff gets. So, for your ABC questions here, first one's going to be 30 over -5. The second one, letter B here, is going to be negative 24 divided by negative 8. And then the last one here is going to be negative 50 over negative 5. Could you pause the video and try all three and then check your answers, please? Okay, so you've tried them all. You wrote them down. You tried each problem. Now you're ready to see if you did it correctly. All of these mean division. Two of them look like fractions, but fractions do mean to divide. Here's what I know. 30 divided by 5 is 6. 24 divided by 8 is 3. 50 divided by 5 is 10. That part I know. Now let's go back and check the matching signs or non-matching signs. Like, are we going to have a positive or a negative answer? So on part A, I see a positive 30 and a negative 5. Those do not match up. So I'm expecting the answer to be negative. A non-match. It doesn't match. That's not good. On B, I see 24 divided by 8, but I see a negative 24 and a negative 8. That's a match. That's a good thing. So my answer is positive 3. And then on the last one, I see negative 50 divided by negative 5. That's a negative and a negative. That's another match. That's another good thing. So my answer is 10. Now, I hope you got the same three answers that I did. If you didn't, you should look at your work and figure out, what was my mistake? What am I doing differently than in this video? Because you want to figure out what that mistake is so you don't have to make it again and kind of correct that error. And that is our video on how to divide integers. Most of it just takes a little practice and remembering those Match.com rules. All right, bye guys.